everyone. Welcome to this month's edition of North Central Outdoors. I'm your host, Nathan Karch. Today's two topics is going to be our 2020 fishing season and then on to our first big game season of the year, which is going to be spring turkey. I know everybody's excited about that. With temperatures kind of on the rise, we're seeing low to mid 60s, a lot more pleasant than those 30s that we were experiencing. Everybody's itching to kind of get out in the woods or get on the water, do some fishing. We have had a tremendous amount of rain lately. It's been crazy. I say that like I'm shocked because the last 2 years have been extremely wet too. We'll see if 2020 will trump the last two, but I know 2018 was like the wettest season we had seen, and then 19 trumped that. So we're kind of on the track to maybe surpass that. We'll see. A lot of debris and trash in the waters. The lake levels are very high right now, but hopefully we'll see those waters recede and give everybody an opportunity to get out there. So that being said, we'll talk about fishing first. We'll talk about the licensing requirements. I know I preach on this every single segment, but you know it changes from year to year sometimes. So I just want to make sure we're covered. The first thing that you can do is just get your Type 001. That's about $34. You can get that from any sporting goods store, and that's going to be your foundation. You will build on that if you want to hunt or anything later on. But first of all is going to be that hunting and fishing combo, which is going to be the 001. If you want to trout fish, you will have to purchase a trout stamp on top of that. I think that one is $22. That will allow you to trout fish anywhere in Tennessee, and that is good for the entire year. Of course, you've always got your sportsman's license, which is just an all-inclusive license. It will cover all the state supplemental licenses, and if you are just the all-around hunter and fisherman and outdoor enthusiast, that will cover you for the entire year for everything. Of course, your lifetime license, that's basically a lifetime sportsman holder, so you're good to go there. Your youth hunting fishing combo, which is going to allow you to hunt and fish both, that you will purchase when you're 13 years of age all the way to you're 15. When you're 16, you'll purchase just the standard adult license, but from 13 to 15, that youth hunt fish combo is available, and that's $10. The only season that I can think of that is pretty big that is about to come up is paddlefish season. Just keep in mind when we're talking about paddlefish, it usually pertains to right below dams, and we monitor that pretty heavily just because the only good method of getting a paddlefish in is snagging. You can't catch them by conventional methods of just throwing some tackle out there, artificial lures or anything. If you do, you're going to snag them with that artificial lure. It's not that they actually bit it with the intentions of eating that lure. So make sure that you are outside of 100 yards from a dam. You cannot fish at all or snag at all within that 100-yard mark. So if you can get on Google Earth and range it off, or even if you have a rangefinder from hunting season, if you want to range it off, it's very important that you don't snag within that 100-yard mark, and we monitor that very heavily just because there is a huge financial incentive on the caviar or the roe of those fish. The commercial value has been holding pretty steadily, and it's climbing as well, so we're monitoring that very heavy. The season usually runs from the end of April all the way to the end of May, so there's a little over a month period that they're in season. But if you see any suspicious activity while you're fishing below a dam or anything like that, see some people snagging with that 100-yard mark or harvesting several of these fish, we see a lot of people just cutting their bellies open and making sure that they do or don't have eggs. If they have the eggs, they'll harvest them and then just throw the fish back. So if you see any of that, please report that to your local game warden, or you can call our office. It's going to be 615-781-6581. That will be our Region 2 dispatch, and please let us know of any just kind of weird, suspicious activity below dams. And it doesn't even have to pertain to paddlefish. We want to know about those violations, whether it be short fish, people are keeping a lot of fish. We want to know about it. On into just some of the creel and length limits. Just keep in mind that it is reservoir specific. So Old Hickory is going to differ from Percy Priest, and that's going to differ from, maybe Kentucky Lake. So whatever reservoir or river that you fish, make sure that you just pay attention to the fishing guide and make sure that you're abiding by all those rules and regulations. For me, I'm assigned to Old Hickory Lake, so most of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about is going to be directly pertaining to Old Hickory Lake. Some of the length limits for just, I guess, your most popular game fish, your largemouth bass is going to be 14 inches. Smallmouth is going to be 18 inches. So those are the two big ones. Your hybrids, they have to be 15 inches, and then your striped bass have to be 15 inches as well. Your black bass, which will include your largemouth and smallmouth, you're allowed 5 of those per day. Your stripe, you're allowed 2 of those per day. I know covering paddlefish, you're allowed 2 of those per day, but you cannot cull. And what I mean by cull is you catch your 2 fish and you've got them right there beside you, but you're like, oh, well, I can still keep on fishing and I want to catch a bigger one. And then when I catch a bigger one, I'll just replace the smaller one that I've already harvested and I'll just throw that one back. You can't do that. Once you get your 2, you're done for the day. So no culling on paddlefish. Pertaining to trout and crappie, it's different from reservoirs like I stated before. So trout, we stock trout in our streams and rivers, the Caney Fork, the Stones River. You can get 7 per day. There is no length limit on that. And then our crappie, it's totally different from it is on the western end of the state. So on Kentucky Lake, you can get 30 per day, and it has to be a 10-inch minimum. Here, that 10-inch minimum requirement is still in effect, but you can only have 15 a day. So they kind of cut that in half. So just make sure that you're abiding by those rules and regulations. And again, totally reservoir specific. Just pay attention to that fishing guide. You can pull it up on our app. It's TWRA on the go. You can just click on that fishing tab and then fishing regulations, and it will pull up the entire guide, and you'll have it right there in your hand in an electronic format. So that's always nice. Or you can just go to Sporting Goods store. We supply those guides on a regular basis to those stores, and you can just pick one up there free of charge. All right, so that kind of covers the fishing portion. We'll jump into the spring turkey season of 2020. So that season for statewide is going to open April 4th and extend all the way to May 17th. So that will be the statewide opener and the entire season. Now, for all the statewide seasons, right before that, we always have a big youth hunt or juvenile hunt. So that juvenile hunt will be it will be March 28th through the 29th, so that weekend leading up to the statewide opener. You are allowed 4 bearded birds for that entire season. I know people say that's a ton of birds, and we're looking at maybe getting that lowered just because a lot of people have seen the decline of turkeys. We're not sure if it's a decline or they're just getting more isolated or concentrated in a general area. Up in my area, I see a ton of birds, but places where I used to see a lot of birds, I'm not seeing them anymore. I'm seeing bigger groups when I do see them, but again, the areas that once kind of flourished, you're not seeing them like you used to. We're currently on a 5-year study in partnership with UT Knoxville just to see what's going on there. It's kind of too early to say, but a lot of fingers are pointing towards nest predation, which makes complete sense. So they're just not carrying or you're not seeing a whole lot of younger turkeys or poults. So time will tell on what is to come about that. But As of right now, it is 4 birds, 4 bearded birds per season. If you see a bearded hen, you're more than welcome to take that. Jakes and Toms, of course. Those are the big bearded ones, the male turkeys. If you harvest a bearded bird during the juvenile, that does count towards your statewide bag limit. So it's not a bonus bird at all, unfortunately. So 28th, 29th, juvenile, April 4th through May 17th, that is going to be your statewide season on that. Some things to cover, and we'll talk about licensing first. It's very similar to the fishing regulations or the fishing licenses. Your type 001, that's going to be your hunting fishing combo. That's your foundation, so you can build on that. In addition, if you're wanting to hunt turkey, you are going to have to purchase a type 009, which is going to be a big game gun, and that will cover you if you're going to hunt with shotgun. If you want to hunt deer with a gun later on down the road when it gets into season, you're covered. You don't have to purchase that license again. If you are wanting to hunt turkey with archery methods, you will purchase a type 00. It's a type 010. That's a type 10. And you are covered for all archery methods during the turkey season and deer season. So that'll be basically the first season that we'll see going into deer season. So you're covered. You will not have to purchase that license again. Junior hunt fish combo applies here. That's $10. Ages 13 through 15, you're good to go. At 16, you will have to buy basically the adult version of that. Lifetime license, good to go. Sportsman's license, again, all-inclusive license. You are totally good to go there. So just know that those licenses are readily available to you, and if you have any questions or concerns about that, you can reach out to your local TWRA officer or regional office, and they'll get you squared away. The hunting hours, unlike deer season, it's 30 minutes before legal sunrise to legal sunset. So deer season, it's 30 minutes after legal sunset. This one ends at sunset, so just make sure that you're abiding by those regulations. It's not against the law to shoot them off the roost, but it's an ethical situation, so we get questions on that all the time. Hey, I've got this bird on the roost. It's after legal shooting hours, and he just won't come down. I'm calling to him. I've got a shot. He's right above me. It's not ethical. It is frowned upon. It's kind of just like shooting a sitting duck on the water for waterfowl season. It's just you want to get those birds up in the air. So turkey, you want them on the ground. It's up to you. We can only be in one place at one time, so it's up to you to make that decision. It's your call at the end of the day. Shotguns, they don't require a plug because turkeys are not migratory birds. So there are no shell restrictions for turkey. You do have to have a number 4 shot or smaller, so you can have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, but it cannot be any bigger than number 4. Again, some of the restrictions is no baiting, which I know I talk about that consistently whenever we're talking about a big game season, but that is no grains whatsoever. If you're hunting a food plot, you're more than welcome to just go out there and hunt that. A food plot means that you have basically prepared that area to hunt prior. So that's perfectly fine. The preparation is what makes you good to go, and it's a normal agricultural practice. If you just go out there and toss wheat or grain, whether it be in corn or soybeans out there just for the purpose of attracting wildlife to hunt over it, you can't do that. So no seeds or anything like that. Food plot's good to go. Seeds, just throwing it out there, bad. No electronic calls. You cannot call in turkeys with any type of electronic calls, just like you were coyote hunting. A lot of these coyote calls are capable of holding a lot of turkey calls, deer calls, and stuff like that. No electronic calls, only mouth calls, slate, box. So it got to just have those standardized physical calls. There are no blaze orange requirements for this big game season, simply because of the fact that birds can see the color orange. Deer are colorblind, so it's fine, but turkeys can see colors, so that would greatly reduce the time or the opportunity that you have to harvest one of these birds. You wouldn't be able to do it probably. But with no blaze orange requirements, please keep in mind that there are people, whether it be on public or private land, there's going to be people out there in full camouflage, and they are going to be mimicking the sounds of these birds. Unlike deer season, where mostly people stay stationary, whether it be in a ground blind or up in a tree stand, people do hunt from a ground blind pretty consistently with turkey, but a lot of people run and gun. And what I mean by that is they sit in one area, they call to a turkey. If the turkeys come to them, that's great. Most of the time, it doesn't happen. They're usually locked up with some hens somewhere, so you have to go to them. So they're trying to locate them when they're calling. And when they hear the turkeys gobble, or they know that they're in that area, they're going to go in that area and try to call them up and get them to come in. And they're going to do it as many times and get as close as possible. With that being said, with people mimicking the sounds of turkeys, it's very, very good possibility that if you're calling and you hear a turkey respond to you, well, that turkey could be somebody else calling, and they might think the exact same thing. So y'all might be getting closer and closer to each other. Y'all are in full camouflage, and you think it's a turkey. So what I'm trying to say is, make 100% certain that you identify your target before you pull that trigger. And also, make 100% certain that you identify your target before you even point that weapon in that direction, okay? People are using decoys, so you're gonna see what resembles turkeys out there, and from far off, you can't distinguish whether or not that is actually real turkeys. So make 100% certain and always identify your target before you pull that trigger or even point that muzzle in that direction. This is probably one of the dangerous big game seasons in my opinion, simply because everybody's out there mimicking the exact sounds of what you're going for. And with you doing the whole spot and stalk method, you know, it could get ugly very, very fast. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you have not had hunter education prior to this, it's very important that you complete that class or you go with somebody who has. If you haven't had it, in order to hunt, it is required, but there is kind of an exemption license that you can purchase. It's an apprentice license, and you can purchase that up to 3 consecutive years. But with that license, you do have to be accompanied by an adult 21 years of age or older to take basically immediate control of the weapon, and make sure that you're using that weapon in a safe manner. And they have to have hunter education as well. So just keep that in mind. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that I've covered whatsoever, please reach out to me at nathan.karch@tn.gov, or you can call our regional office, get in touch with your local county game warden. They'll dispatch you to them, and they'll get in contact with you. Again, that number is 615-781-6581, and if you want to report any type of suspicious activity or violations that you know have taken place, we would love to know about it. You are our eyes and our ears, and we couldn't do it without you, so we appreciate it. Everybody, hopefully you have an opportunity to get outdoors, whether it be on the water or in the woods. Just stay safe, and we'll see you next time.